up in the ocean, a change in the weather. I was praying that you and me might end up together. It's like a wishing for rain as I stand in the desert, but I'm holding you closer than most, 'cause you are my heaven. I don't wanna waste the weekend. If you don't love me, pretend a few more hours, then it's time to go. And as my train rolls down the east coast, I wonder how you keep warm. It's too late to cry, too broken to move on, and still I can't let you be. Most nights I hardly sleep. Don't take what you don't need from me. It's just a drop in the ocean, a change in the weather. I was praying that you and me might end up together. It's like wishing for rain as I stand in the desert, but I'm holding you closer than most, 'cause you are my heaven.
If I were to dive into a pool full of a liquid or a substance, I'd probably dive into a pool full of whipped cream, because I really like whipped cream and it's sweet and tastes good. Until I would hit the bottom of the pool, and then that would be bad. But or I would probably dive into like a pool full of coffee, because I really like coffee and I drink a lot of it. If I were to be an insect of my choice, I'd probably be a butterfly, because they're pretty and they have beautiful wings and they fly, and everyone likes butterflies and no one would try to kill them. If I could go back to any time period in history on a time machine, I'd go back to the 70s when they made the Grease movie, because I like to dance, I can sing. You're the one that I want.
You are the one I want.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. If I could choose two people that have influenced my life the most, I'd have to obviously choose my parents, because my dad is a very hard worker and has always been there for me and is there to make me laugh. And then my mom is just the most caring person who would do anything for anyone, and I love my parents very much.
If I could take a running jump in a pool filled with any object or substance, I would probably pick a Vernie's Hamburger House peanut butter milkshake, because they're delicious and I could just lay in that pool forever. If I could be any bug or insect for a day, I would probably pick a roly-poly because I can just roll up in a ball and roll wherever I want. If I could take a time machine back to any moment in history, I would go back to the filming of the movie Benchwarmers, and I would want to take one of the main characters' spots just because it's a hilarious movie and it's one of my all-time favorites. The person who has influenced me the most in my life has to be my dad because he's taught me so many things already in life, and he's the most hardworking man that I know. And when I grow up, I just hope to be at least half the guy that he is.
If I could take a running jump into a pool filled with an object, I would choose bubble wrap because I love bubble wrap, and one of my favorite things to do is just sit there and pop bubble wrap. If I could be any type of insect for one day, I would be a praying mantis because, well, why not? If I could jump into a time machine and go back in time, I would go back to the time where the very first hug happened because I feel like that would be a really awkward moment and just a really weird encounter having someone come up and embrace you. The person who has influenced me the most in my life so far would have to be my brother Kyle because he's always there for me when I need him and he's been one of my biggest role models for a long time.
If I were to jump in to a pool with any substance, it would be I'll jump into a pool with cash because who doesn't love money? And I love money. If I could be any insect or bug, I would definitely be a black widow spider because they're feared by everybody, and I guess it'd be kind of cool to live life on that edge. If I could go back in time to relive any moment, it would be back in the 90s when I think hip hop was at its best, and I'd like to actually listen to that music when it was popular. The most influential person in my life would definitely be Peyton Manning, the quarterback for the Denver Broncos, just because kind of his leadership skills and how he displays himself, and yeah, kind of being a quarterback myself, I kind of model myself after someone like that.
If I could take a running jump into a pool filled with any substance, it would be a giant bowl of Fruit Loops because that's my favorite cereal. If I could be any insect for one day, I would choose to be a Brazilian tree hopper because have you seen it? If I could go back to any historical moment, I would choose to go back to the time that The Sandlot was being filmed, and I would want to be a part of their cast because it's my favorite movie. The person that has influenced me the most in my life would definitely have to be my dad because he is not only my biggest fan on the softball field, but in everyday life.
If I could jump into a pool filled with any substance, it'd have to be money, because then I would never have to worry about having a job or making any money ever again. It'd be a pretty good feeling. If I could be any bug or insect, I'd have to be a wasp, because I'm deathly afraid of them, and if I were one, then I wouldn't have to worry about them anymore. If I could go back in time to any point in history, it would have to be to the 2008 Men's Basketball Championship. I'd love to be in the building when Mario Chalmers hit the three-point shot to send it into overtime. It'd be crazy. If I had to choose the most influential person in my life, it'd have to be my dad because he's always worked his hardest, and even though he's sometimes hard on me, I know it's for my own good.
Okay, if I could go running and jumping into a pool filled with anything, it would be melted chocolate because it would be really warm and gooey, and you could use it for like a dip for snacks or something. So I think it would be fun. If I could be an insect for a day, I would probably be a dragonfly because I think they're beautiful and they're my mom and I's favorite insect. If I could go back in time to any event, I would probably go back to Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. My grandparents got to fly down for that, and I think it would be amazing to witness something that is a part of America's culture and something that brought everyone together. Okay, the most influential person in my life would be my mom. She's been there with me through everything, and she's my best friend. She always keeps me grounded, but she wants me to excel in everything I do, and I just wouldn't be anywhere without her. So, yeah.
I were to jump into a pool filled with any substance, I would probably jump into a pool filled with chocolate pudding, because I love chocolate pudding and it's almost thick enough that you could climb it, but it's a lot of fun to swim in as well. If I could choose to be any insect, I would probably be a dragonfly, because they can be pretty and fast and they're elegant all at the same time. If I could run and jump into a time machine and go back to any time, I would go back to the Miracle on Ice when the United States hockey team beat Russia, because it's probably the biggest sports event in history, and and I'm a hockey fan as well. The most influential person that I've had in my life is probably my dad, because he's been there for every event that I've ever had, and he's not only a dad to me, he's a mentor and a friend as well.
If I could jump into a pool with any substance or objects of my choice, I would choose Jello, just like the characters did on Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, because I've always thought that was really fun and it'd be really cool to swim in some Jello. If I could be any bug or insect, I'd want to be a caterpillar. That way I could turn into a butterfly and wouldn't have to be a bug for very long, and because I could migrate south for warm weather. If I could jump into a time machine and see any historical moment of my choice, it would be to go into the future instead of the past and see the first female president inaugurated. Throughout my life, I've had very many positive influences that have helped me be the person I am today. The person that has influenced me the most would be my older brother Michael, because growing up watching him compete in all the activities he was in made me very eager to get into high school and compete just like he did. He's also influenced me by teaching me to not always go with the crowd, but to not be scared, just to do me and be myself, just like he did by moving to Thailand last summer.
If I could run and jump into a swimming pool filled with anything of my choice, it'd probably have to be red Jello, because I could just dive right in and just start eating and I wouldn't have to get out for anything. If I had the choice to be any type of bug or insect, it'd probably be a spider, so I could move around really fast and people wouldn't step on me and I'd scare them almost to death. If I could go back to any historical moment of my choice, I'd probably go back to the Titanic, and I would actually do my job as the lookout and tell the captain that there's an iceberg ahead. If I could name an influential person to me, I'd probably have to say Steve Jobs, because he was a visionary of his time, and I love his quote, "Stay hungry, stay foolish."
Now, heaven doesn't seem far